like to have a universe filled with planets, with beings like us who have figured out how to be free from suffering, and then you imagine them feeling and being that. So you imagine the loveliest tastes that they could have, and the most magnificent visions that they could have, and the most beautiful feelings they could have towards each other. Then you cover the sky with flowers and cover everything in gold and throw diamonds in the corners, and you make it the most precious thing you can. You cover it with the sun and moon, which signify a whole bunch of things. And then you offer it to what you imagine to be a most perfect vision of a teacher, or a being that's so mentally evolved that they have complete realizations. A Buddha in the Buddhist case, a Jesus in a Christian sense. For me it was Joseph Campbell, because I didn't believe in any of that stuff, you know. But at the beginning, for me, it was the most realized human I could imagine, the most realized person. There's something special about allowing your mind to go straight into that, just to spend a few seconds thinking what it would be like to be enlightened, because it turns on that part of you that will be enlightened. That's how you plant that seed. And we're talking about karma. We're talking about the idea of karma, that mental seed. So abiding in a space where you imagine a most perfect creature in front of you, whatever they look like, glowing in light, with funny horns, with a special smile, looking sad, looking happy, doesn't matter. Whatever you imagine, if it's flowing bliss through you because you're visualizing in a specific way, and then you visualize the most perfect world and you offer it to them, it's one of the most profound seeds you can plant in your mind. It's one of the most profound imprints you can do to your mind, which would then force you to experience the same thing. This will all make sense if we finish the 12 courses, 12 classes of karma. So to begin that, let's do a perfect offering. Imagine the most perfect thing. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. It's whatever you can. And then offer it to that teacher or that being. It could be external, internal. That turns on realizations in your mind. Pukir Jishin Metotram Rira Lingshi Nyindegam Padi Sangha Shindu Mite Guargi Drokun Namda Shinla Jiparsho Hidam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamyatayani Shudam Soki Chognanla Jongchu Bardu Dakni Gyopsuchi Daki Chinyengi Petsonamki Yola Penchir Sangha Druparsho Chudam Zoki Choknanla Jongchu Bardu Dakni Kyopsuchi Daki Chinyengi Petsonamki Yola Penchir Sangha Druparsho Chudam Zoki Chognamla Jongchu Bardu Dakni Kyopsuchi Daki Chinyengi Petsonamki Drola Penchir Sangha Druparsho. And let's take a few minutes to do a little meditation that allows our mind to move from the space outside to the space in here for the next 2 hours. So take a comfortable seated position. You're about to forget your body for a second. If you've meditated before, do it better. If you've never meditated before, do it well. Enjoy. Here we go. Hi. Hi. So just begin to make sure the base of your body is still. Your legs are firm on the ground. Your back is straight. It's important that your vertebrae is stacked one on top of each other. An easy way to make this happen is to imagine that there's a string pulling you from the crown of your head up. And so you're suspended there. Release any tension that you might have around your legs or your thighs, your torso. Relax your head into your neck. Release any tension on the side of your neck, your shoulders. Now begin to focus your attention on your face, beginning to relax the muscles around the brow, around the edges of your eyes. And allow the corners of your lips to smile just a tad. You should notice a big difference. And just allow yourself to breathe. Begin to focus the sensation of your mind. Get your mind focused on the sensation of the air moving through the nostrils. See if you can make your mind that sensation. It's pressed tightly against the breath. If your mind moves to something else, a feeling of your body or something outside, a memory or a hope, don't fight it too much, just recognize it and come back to the sensation of the breath. See if you can get tighter by maybe feeling the hairs, the tiny hairs at the tip of your nose moving as you inhale or exhale through your nostrils. Now I'd like you to imagine yourself in a most perfect room, far away from civilization, high up in a mountain. There are windows. Outside the window you could see a deep blue sky just before sunset. The sky is infinitely blue, not a cloud in the sky. Across from you there's a mountain range, and at the very end the sun is beginning to set. It's golden and it's covering your face with gold. The rays of light are covering every inch of the inside of your room with gold. You turn around and take a seat at your meditation cushion. Everything is draped in golden light, glowing and warm. You return to the sensation of your breath. Feeling each breath fill your lungs. Every exhale cleans your lungs. With every inhale, imagine that the air inside of you is attaching itself to any negativity, any darkness, any suffering, any hurt. And on the exhale, it's coming out and going straight into the earth to be purified. You are left cleaner and cleaner. If you have an ailment in your body, it's being cleaned by every breath. Do this until you begin to see the insides of your body begin to be translucent. You have a clear body inside now. The edges of your skin on the inside are an infinite blue like the sky outside. The whole universe. Then invite a teacher to come. Ask your holiest teacher to come. And as soon as your mind thinks of them, they appear seated in front of you, facing you. It's just the two of you. Imagine what it would be like to be in their mind, seeing the world through deep wisdom and perfect compassion. A love flowing at their heart, observing you, loving you as you sit there and practice. In your mind, create some kind of beautiful offering for them that they can catch. Imagine they can read your mind and they see the perfect picture of whatever you've offered them with a perfect feeling. Allow yourself to watch them enjoy it. As soon as they interact with it, they are filled with a deep love, a perfect happiness. Then in their presence, make some effort to clean out any obstructions to your mind from being happy. Think back in the last week or so. What was the worst thing you've done mentally? The thing that hurt yourself or the world or people around you? This is not to feel guilty, but this is just to clinically observe a movement of your mind that brought suffering instead of happiness to your world. So just look at that and see with a clear mind if you would do that again, knowing that that action must give you an equal and opposite reaction. You must experience the result of that in your life. Did you have a moment of jealousy or anger? Did you say something harsh to someone? Did you hurt somebody's feeling or yours? Whatever it is, observe it for what it was and try and generate some sense of regret in your heart. A wish to not do it again if the opportunity came up. That's all. Do this in front of your teacher. And feel a kind of cleansiness that comes from this. Now do the opposite. Think at the last week or so, what was the most beautiful state of mind you had? What was the kindest thing you said or did? How did you bring joy to this world of yours? Did you make a true difference to yourself or another? Find the specific moment when you did that. Your best good deed for the week. Observe it and allow in your heart, just allow yourself to be happy for having done good. All your effort, you see a beautiful result. It's okay to be happy for being good. And now think of how many other people you know that do good in their world, are changing lives. are making other humans happy, are removing suffering. Maybe you think of your mum or your best friend. You think of their good qualities and you be happy for them, because they too must experience the result of their actions, and these are good actions. Then it occurs to you that your teacher can read your mind again. So you smile and ask them, please always to stay and always to teach you. In whatever form they appear, may you always learn. And you watch them agree. They're happy. Happy to be close to you. And so watch them rise up and face the same direction you're facing, getting smaller and smaller until they rest just above the crown of your head. Make them bright with light. Every atom of light coming from them is a deep realization of joy and happiness and bliss and how to be perfect in this world. Observe as those droplets of light enter the crown of your head. Realization after realization. Any resistance to love or wisdom is abolished, until you begin to see the inside of your body glowing in light. Enjoy the sensation. Wish to use it to make other people happy. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you for that. That was very nice. Very quiet. Lovely. So I'm supposed to do some kind of review. Did we do quizzes or not? Yeah.
I passed them out.
If you passed out the quiz, I might just so happen to go through the same quiz questions that you might have to answer. Yeah.
I don't think we printed it out.
Huh?
I don't think we printed it out.
Okay. We got 10 of them, so those hardcore quizzers, grab your quiz. You slacker? No, the rest of you can enjoy it. Yeah? So, I usually do this, means we're late, but I'd like to start a quick review of what's really in your heart from the last 9 weeks, what you really understand in a practical way what karma is. And so I'm going to ask you a few questions and it's your job to answer. So, what's the text, the main text that we're studying? Really loud. The Abhidharma Kosha, which is a compendium of all the sutras by Master Vasubandhu, around the year 350. Okay. Hi. And this is important because in this text are the collection of all the Buddha's teachings in a condensed version. So it's called the treasure house of wisdom, knowledge. From this, which is very difficult to understand, there are 8 chapters. One of the chapters describes karma. But before that chapter, we talk about cosmology, where the world comes from, where the systems of worlds come and go, what time looks like, what the biggest particle is, what the smallest particle is, how universes come and go, etc., etc., etc. Measurements of time, measurements of space, measurements of things, etc., etc. It's an incredible sci-fi adventure called Abhidharma Kosha, and it reads really dry, because it's list after list after list. But it evolves in talking about where the universe came from, what it is, cosmology, physiology, all sorts of things. And then it begins to narrow down by saying, well, then it begins to narrow down about suffering beings and all the realms of beings and the realms we can see and the realms we can't see, etc., until it starts talking about suffering beings and non-suffering beings. And then in the suffering beings, it starts talking about, well, what causes them to suffer and what causes these worlds. And this is why we're studying this course. This course is chapter 4, 5?
I think it's 4. It's 5.
Maybe someone should know that.
It's 4 or 5.
4.
I think it's 4.
4. Yeah.
Raise your hand if you think it's 4.
Okay, let's change the Abhidharma Kosha by choosing the answer. So in this, it talks about karma. Why karma? Why would it talk about karma when we're talking about 4? Yeah. Why would we talk about karma when we are discussing the universes?
It's all the world.
Okay, so it says in this book that every universe comes from karma. Yeah. Meaning our very experience of things, inner and outer, is this thing called karma. So then we went, okay, that's good. If that's true, what's karma? So what's karma? The movement of the mind. Click, click. Yeah, you just had a karma. And then we started dissecting how this movement of the mind, creating this universe, this movement of the mind creates this universe. Yeah? Meaning your job, your partner, your good salary, your shitty salary, your happiness, your unhappiness, your universe. Your mum, the shape of your foot. You know?
Yeah.
This is what it means, your universe. It doesn't mean, some idea of outer space. It means, why did my hair fall out at 30 something and my dad's at 24? I won, I didn't. Why? Your universe comes from karma. And then you get really nitty gritty around, well, what produces certain types of karma? Because some things are good here. It's not all bad. Some things feel good in this planet. We love each other sometimes. We kill each other sometimes. It's horrible. We have this incredible, weird dynamic, this cyclical dynamic, and it talks about this in the previous chapters. So then let's talk about a little bit about the types of karma. It begins to dissect. There's this way of looking at karma, there's this way of looking at karma, and you're trying to form a 3D image of this concept of the place where the universe comes from. Yeah? Buddhists don't have a problem with Big Bang theory. They just say there are many Big Bangs and they're all produced by your consciousness. Not a problem. They fit together really well. So one of the major slices of karma, you get 3 flavors of karma. Yeah? So if karma is the movement of your mind, and they create every experience, your world, there's 3 flavors of those experiences.
Good.
Good karma, bad karma, neutral karma, which result in good experience. So we went into the definitions of what's good karma, what's bad karma, what's neutral karma. So good karma, so it's funny talking about this here in the West, because we grow up and we get taught karma is like luck. You have good luck, you have bad luck. It's nothing to do with that. Yeah. The more you spend time looking at this, the more you realize you are in complete and utter control of your entire universe, every positive flavor, every negative flavor, and all the background noise of neutrality, except you're on a time delay. It's like you're planting the karmas here where the hose is, you plug in the hose, and somewhere over there, the hose has the main outlet, but it also has some little sprinkles along the way. So whatever you're putting in here, you put dirty water, good water, good water. Air, neutral. That's my metaphor for the day. You get air out there. We think we are experiencing life there. That's where our now is. And every action that we're doing in result to that good water coming out or bad water coming out is actually planting or putting more water back here at the hose for us to have an experience sometime later. And because of this time delay, we don't understand karma. We don't think that cause and effect work in a perceptual way. We think in the West that cause and effect work in a material way. If I grab enough sand and enough heat and I melt it down, I get glass. That functions here in the nominal world. But in the ultimate sense, when we begin analysis, you come to this crossroads where you have to face your universe breaking down when you can't say that every time I get sand and I put heat, I get glass. And so you begin to say, well, what's this whole new way of thinking about where my universe comes from? Karma. So there's 3 flavors of karma. Good karma, bad karma, neutral karma. Some other slice of karma that we learned up until last week.
Right, ends in this lifetime, next lifetime.
Good.
Or any lifetime.
Yeah, great. So the Tibetans are awesome at making lists, and I like lists. They're easy to transmit. Yeah. The idea behind the list is interesting to internalize. This is your job now. You know, it's like you drink it, you internalize it. Does it make sense? Can I make it work? What does this mean? Then you should have more questions, and that's why there's all these commentaries and to answer all these questions. But that's right. Every action we do is forever recorded. It's not recorded by somebody else. It's in you. You are the witness. You are the observer of every single thing that you do, every single intent behind the words you say, and every single thing you do. There's no other person. There's no other thing keeping track whether Peter's good or Peter's bad. And that part of you that is recording that thing is the thing that is producing your very life. And you can understand this nominally. So the initial way to understand it, an easy and initial way to understand this, is the first time I got it as a nice little realization was when I witnessed my dad. My dad was a crazy person in a good way, right? Like bizarre, crazy person. Those of you who have been around have heard some nice stories about Uncle Vince, number 1. Yeah. He would be so paranoid about people looking at his stuff that if he came to stay at my house or at my sister's house, he'd double or triple padlock his bags. Yeah, so nobody could look at his 2 bags. He only had 2 bags he carried around. Yeah, so he was a little bit of a nomad. But he was so paranoid at anybody looking at his special writings or his things or his photos. Yeah, he would lock them up and he'd place them in a special way so if he came home and he knew that thing was off, that somebody touched it, yeah, and he'd accuse us all the time, yeah. And we weren't interested, really, not that interested too. But lo and behold, all our drawers were turned upside down and someone had gone into the drawer and someone had gone into the photo albums and someone had gone, and it was Dad. Dad was forever snooping at everybody's thing, so his karma had developed so habitually that he came into a room already planting which part of the room he was going to snoop when we snuck out, you know, like he'd ask us like pointed questions. Oh, anything new? You know, what did you do? And he'd dig until he'd find that there'd be an object or a thing that he could go and snoop in. And then we'd go to work and we'd come home and that part of the house would be a little upside down. And, yeah, it was magic though, because that's how he taught me that karma is that. He cannot see anything but that. Of course he's going to interpret when I go near his bag, just to move it, he's going to interpret that I want to get at his bag. That's all he's got recording in there. There's nothing else that he's so consumed by this idea of getting at something that any glance at his bag would be, you're trying to get at my stuff, aren't you? And it wasn't at all. So if your intention, this is why intention is like 90% of karma. If your intention is to steal, let's say, you walk into a room and say, what am I going to take from this room? And this is your job, your internal job. then anybody who walks into your room, you will notice, you will think of them as that's what they're trying to do. Because that's all you know. This is karma. This is a simple way of knowing karma. And they ripen, these imprints that come up, ripen in 3 time frames. What are they? You said this lifetime, next lifetime, or the lifetime after. And if we're not going to get into past lives at this course, because we did that last course, course 4, and there's a whole 12-week series about a logic that proves the idea of past lives. So take that as an assumption. If it's not clear in your mind, put it in a shelf and say, one day I'll look at it, no problem. But the karmas will ripen this lifetime. Not all of them do. Some of them are slower, they ripen the next lifetime, when your consciousness acquires a new vehicle, if you want to be herbal about it, or any lifetime after that. So then we started going, well, if that's true, we want to figure out what kind of karmas, what kind of actions, what kind of intention we can have in our lives this life to force a result now, so I can get enlightened, so I can see bliss, so I don't have to suffer, so I don't have to get old and sick and die and watch my parents get sick and die and watch wars and get people grabbing at each other, and remove the suffering. Because if the world comes from you, you can manipulate your world and change that thing which you experience. If the world was self-existent, if the world was out there, separate to you, you can't stop war, you can't stop suffering, you can't stop sickness, you can't change it, it's fixed. The fact that it's inside you, but forced through this hose as your reality from stuff that's in our consciousness for such a long time, I'll leave that hanging. Yeah. So, we talked about different slices of karma. It can ripen now, it can ripen next life, or the one after. Yeah. And last week was sort of depressing, wasn't it? We talked about this horrible idea of you can store up enough good karma, which is called virtue. Yeah. In this, where is karma stored? Number one.
In you.
In you, in the idea of your mind rolling from moment to moment. This is in the high school. For those of you who are studying a bit more in depth, the Abhidharmakosha says it's one of the lower schools of explaining these ideas. It says that there's this separate consciousness in us called the kunchi. It's like a pool, and inside this pool, all these droplets of karma, all these, imagine little white karmas, little dark karmas, and a whole bunch of neutral karmas, right, are stored. And it's this soup of every single thing you ever did and thought and said. Not just this life, but every life without beginning. In you is already the seed for complete and utter realization. In you is already the seed for complete and utter destruction and horrible. You can be the most horrible creature. You can be the most magnificent creature. It's in you. And something forced us to be this now. The hose is pumping out for this life for you, humanness. Capacity to communicate-ness. Yeah? Ability to free will-ness. What the hell's that? Yeah? Our ability to move in the directions I choose. Say what I intend. This is a karma. This is a capacity. Not everything has that. Not every human has that. Yeah? Certainly not animals. We're more driven by impulse. And yeah? So if there's so it's the idea is that these recordings, if you like, that you've watched yourself and your intent sit in this pool of consciousness of yours. We'll call it your mind rolling from moment to moment, but for a good solid idea, we've got this little pool of the kunchi, right? Where your bakchaks sit. Bakchaks are those seeds, mental seeds, that will and must ripen. Then there's some other laws of karma, right? Some other divisions. Give me the 4 divisions of karma, four ways to explain karma. If you think there's so many fours.
There are four.
Try. Huh?
The rules of karma?
Yeah, that'll do it. The rules of karma, how seeds ripen.
So good. You go first.
If you plant something, it must ripen.
So if you do something, it must ripen. Yeah?
Like produces like.
Like produces like. So if you do something like with the stealing intent, you must experience the loss of someone stealing from you in a similar notion. If you are giving love, then you must experience love. Okay? Next.
Time.
Is it
Negative produces negative,
Yeah?
and it expands.
There you
Okay, good.
go. And if you don't do it,
Okay.
you won't see the.
Okay, there was 5 in there. So the
Harvey's is from a different list technically.
Yeah.
But
What?
that's okay. We still got all the information out there because you're only ever going to retain the content and you're going to live the content. Yeah. So number 1, it expands. Yeah. Number 2, if you do it, you must get the result. It's not number 2, by the way. It's a different number. Yeah.
number 1 is karma stuff in it.
It's
Number 2 is
definitely-
it grows. Number 3 is if you don't
If you
do it, it won't.
happen. And if you did it, it will happen. Yeah. Okay. Did we all get that?
No.
Cool. So that sits in your mind. It means that if you are experiencing, I love the last 2 because it means if you are experiencing something, and you are unhappy about it, you are unhappy about what you already did to somebody else being experienced externally, and you're really angry at yourself. But you don't recognize that. So the ignorance is you hurt them because they are the vehicle for your bad karma.
It's like when you have a fight with someone and then you're like still fighting with them like 8 hours later in your mind because it was always in your mind anyway, even when the person was there.
Perfect. So the other good thing about that is if your intention, if looking at the world and interacting with your planet with goodness and kindness and wisdom and all the other goodnesses you can think of, if you are habituating your mind in that way, you must experience the result. So there's a certainty about that, but we'll talk about that a bit more. Now it's time for class. That was, I guess, the review. Yeah? Oh no, now we talked about last class was horrible. This class is worse, okay? Last class was really bad. This is depressing. So I thought I'd do a little uplifting at the beginning and a little darkness in a second. And last class we talked about this horrible idea called cutting the root of virtue, which was talking about this pool of goodness, the one that will lead to you becoming an enlightened being, the one that can evolve your mind to such a degree that you no longer experience suffering. The logic of that possibility was explained in previous courses, but you just get the concept, get the idea in your mind that if there are beings in this planet that experience this world with a bit of suffering, with hardly any suffering, with little to no suffering, with horrible, horrible suffering, and you yourself have experienced that in your lifetime so far, if it's possible to shift your awareness, your consciousness, your state of being, if you were able to be happy for 3 hours, then you can be happy for 10 hours. It's possible. If you can be happy for 10 hours, you can be happy for a lifetime. It doesn't have to be this cycle. That's possible. So, having enough virtue in your life to produce that, having enough of that karma to produce that is called your root of virtue, or your collection of merit. Yeah, your collection of merit. There's 2 collections: collection of merit, collection of wisdom. They produce your Buddha mind and your Buddha body. Your collection of merit is every goodness that you did and thought and said. And last course was this horrible idea that you could actually cut that. That there would be a karma, an action that you could do. And it's not necessarily a horrible thing by its own side. It seems quite innocent. But it could completely cut your capacity to be free from suffering. And there were 2 explanations.
It seems unfair if it's done in ignorance.
It sounds unfair. It does seem completely unfair. That was one of my first complaints, when I first met Buddha's teachings. It's so unfair. It's almost when you understand the karma, it's perfectly just. Yeah, but it seems so unfair. Yeah, like I've been good all this life. Yeah, I've been good all this life, but terrible things happen to me. That's so unfair. Yeah, because of this time delay and not really understanding the long-termness of cause and effect, it seems unfair. That's what suffering is. It's the lack of understanding of where it came from. So when you look at cutting the root of virtue, you have this whole pool of virtue that you're plugged into, developing your beautiful experience of becoming an enlightened being. The Abhidharma Kosha, the lowest of the four schools of Buddhism, say that having a specific action of mind, a specific karma, can cut that. And what was that? Does anybody remember that?
Being confident that the cause and effect don't exist.
Yeah, so having wrong view. Tokpa, is that right? Tokpa? Lokta. I'm dyslexic. Yeah. Lokta, having wrong view. Wrong view about how things truly function. Yeah, and if you look at it, cause and effect it's funny because you use cause and effect to prove how having lack of understanding of cause and effect can destroy cause and effect. It's a little bit of a mind screw. Yeah. If you have enough conviction, if you are fervent in the fact that you decided this idea of cause and effect from a mental point of view can't work, and therefore I can do anything I want. I don't have to produce kindness in my world. I don't have to produce badness because things are random or things. So if you've removed completely the functioning code for your universe, the laws of karma, for example, that's the classical wrong view, then you cut the access to that pool that would produce that. Do you see that? If you remove the idea of cause and effect and you say, it doesn't, you then begin to act in accordance to your new state of mind, which is things are random, and you start associating, you start building mental associations, karmic associations between things that are not congruent. So your world is a mishmash and you are completely lost in this cycle instead of being free from the cycle if you know how to.
And there's no getting back.
But there is getting back. Yeah, we talked about getting back as well. A little bit of hope. Yeah, good. But the idea, we saw this film, what was the film we saw?
Me, You, and Everyone We Know.
Me, You, and Everyone We Know. Anybody, has anybody seen that? Yeah. Beautiful. You have?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful film. Yeah. But at the end of this film, this little kid was wondering why in the morning there was this tapping sound. He didn't understand. He asked his parents why this tapping sound. This little cute, beautiful little boy. And at the end of the film, he walks outside to the street and he sees just before sunrise this man waiting for the bus. And he waits every morning and he taps with a quarter. He taps the metal side of the bus stop. And so there's this ding, 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 ding every time. And the kid has, the implication in the movie is the kid has this experience that the dinging, which was behind the sunrise, produces the sun for coming up. Yeah? So he has this vision of the dinging, and then the film gets a close-up of the coin, and then you see the sun coming up, and you see the connection in the kid's mind that you can make the sun come up by doing this, right? That would be misunderstanding the laws of karma and acting in accordance to a way, in a beautiful way, a lovely descriptive way. So that's one way of cutting your root of virtue. It just disconnects you from that pool of goodness. Can you? There's another way for the Mahayanas, for those that understand. Yeah.
One quick question. So do you have to have correct view in order to have wrong view?
Yeah.
Well, I had a similar story. Like when growing up Catholic, they were like, if you cut the rope to Jesus Christ, like you'll never be able to get back to Jesus Christ or to go to heaven. And like they're like, even if you do it mentally, and I always thought like, oh no, don't cut the rope, and like if you cut the rope, like you'll never get back. So, but that was their correct view of heaven and Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So this is the correct view for this, so it only makes sense for this.
I actually think it both makes sense. What's at play here? We have human minds. Yeah. Do I know what it's like to be outside a human mind? Not really. Yeah. I can't say I do. Do we have valid perceptions? We did this in the last course. Do we have valid perceptions? This is a wall. I am a Hector. You are a Michelle. Yeah. Yeah? No. Yes. No. Oops. See, I had incorrect view. We function. We have functional view. We have some understanding of cause and effect, but we don't have total vision of that. You won't ever have that until you have a direct experience of this in meditation called seeing emptiness directly, etc. You can intellectually understand correct view, and then you apply intellectually correct view. And that correct view could apply under any name. We're using Buddhist terms. We're using Buddhist names. But if these things are words describing an ultimate, they must be true for all.
But their view wasn't the same view.
It doesn't mean that their view was incorrect or that this one is incorrect. It just means that they have a view. Let's take the cutting
rope.
rope.
The definition of ignorance, that things are appearing to come from outside you. That was their view. So that therefore that would not be correct.
From this point of view, which still makes this point of view correct. From this point of view, you could have a valid cognition that somebody having an experience of cutting the rope to Christ would still be a valid path for them. It's completely possible. They could have a karma that produces Christ as an enlightened being that's teaching wisdom. They could have a karma that understands that Christ is saying, do unto others as I do unto you, and then they can get a complete download of the teaching of karma. We call it karma. They call it do unto others. Yeah? It's a path. It can work.
So does that mean that it's the same law as law of the glass, where it's just different people seeing different parts and not really getting into the source?
Well, the correct view is understanding the source. So it was a great question, because if you get to the root of the problem with the glass, right? Let's get back to the problem of, we call this a pen. Where's the pen? Yeah. For us, this is a pen. Can you think of it? Can you experience it not as a pen? Can you try not to? Okay, I'll do it again. Try not to think of it as a pen. Yeah, we have this understanding between us that this thing is a pen and it functions as a pen. Yeah? And we are correct. This is one view of this object. Yeah? But you bring an animal in here. A dog is our lovely example. And it cannot see what you see. It cannot see and all the implications that go with penness. It doesn't want to write with it. It doesn't want to save it. It doesn't want to protect the tip that we want to. You know? A dog which has a mind, which is a being on this planet, which is experiencing the whole network of reality that we are sharing, because ours isn't correct, theirs isn't correct. A dog will have a completely different experience forced upon them, just like us, of this object. And then if you bring a third being with a different set of perceptors and mind, they will have a completely different experience. Which of those three experiences are correct? And this is where your mind should start splitting in half. Because from the pen's side, let me correct myself, from the object side, there is no pen projecting out to every observing mind, forcing them to see only pen. From the object side, it is empty of having that nature. That's what emptiness means. It is at the core of Buddhist idea. The pen is empty of having penness from its own side. That's what no self means. That's what no self nature means. It doesn't mean anything else more complicated, but it's very complicated. It's so simple. it has no chewingness from its own side, which is the first thing the dog wants to do when they see it. Toy. That nature isn't there either. That's in the dog. The penness is in you. The otherness, the magic wand, is in the demigod. And so in that respect, we're trying to get at the very core of the matrix, at the very foundation of existence, by identifying and interacting with all our things. If there is no nature from this thing, from its own side, it's empty of having penness, chewtoyable, or magic oneness. If it's empty of that, then emptiness is its true nature, its ultimate nature. And it's not a thing, it's not a positive, it's a lack of thing. This is the ultimate reality for all things. You included, this room included. And then our minds, who are so accustomed to seeing just one tiny spectrum of the entire possibility of pen, magic, wand, chew toy, emptiness, because that's also a perception. It can be any of these things, and it could be any of these things right now for you. What's causing the penness? Because I can't make it be anything else. So willpower isn't making the pen. I know the pen isn't making the pen, or the object isn't making the pen. What's making me see pen? And dog see chew toy, and something else see, what is it? This is karma. This is karma. Yeah? So when we talk about ultimate nature, when we talk about correct view, this is what we're talking about. The correct view being, if you are stuck in any mode, penness, and only penness, then you're going to have a fight with all the dogs. Because they're going to argue that their perspective is correct. You're wasting a perfectly good chew toy in writing stupid words that nobody can read, because dogs can't read. What a waste of thing. There's more dogs than us, surely. Who's right?
In Nepal there.
Yeah, in Nepal there. Yeah. Who's right? So when we talk about ultimate nature, ultimate reality, the ultimate truth to things is that they have no nature from their own side. Does this mean that they have no nature at all? Why not? What's the proof that they do have some nature?
Supersedence of nature.
You just explained it as a pen. That was your nature for it. So for you it was a pen, and for you it was a chew toy, and for you it was something else.
What's the material cause? Like when you do the glass,
Yeah.
there's the liquid.
There's the liquid that produces the thing.
Right. So I get this. But
Yeah.
what caused the material?
China.
China for humans.
Pen factory. Pen factory. That's
Humans for dogs. No. What's the material cause? What is the substance of the thing? Yeah. We get really deep here. You're not going to get that until course 13. Yeah. No. But it's hard question, and so my holy teacher Geshe Michael taught this over and over and over and over and over, and he didn't teach us Chi Shedra, which is the course of this, until later. Yeah. Because I think he wanted us to suffer a little bit the discomfort of being knowledge consumers, yeah, and also to struggle and actually think for ourselves and say, well, hold on, well, I don't understand it for 3 years, I didn't understand it, and if you're really trying to understand the ultimate nature of your universe and how to shift it, that's a good thing, yeah. So you have to study Chi Shedra. It's very important. The summary I can give you is that there's stuff out there. There's stuff out there. The Abhidharmas would say, the mind only would say, there isn't stuff out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it's just your mind. That your mind also produces the perception of a material. That's what the Abhidharmists would say, and then there's a debate between them and the higher school. Sorry, that's what the mind only would say. That there is material out there. There is no material out there. then the high school said, well, there is stuff, but when you start breaking it down, it gets troublesome. Yeah, and then you studied Shadrach and other things. Experience will give you that answer more than anyone, because that's an answer you must get in deep, deep meditation. That's the only way you get that one, really, and some others. But it's good to have your mind want that, because it means you're thinking about it. You're not just sitting there going, okay, which is, I think. So correct view in this respect would mean, what's the ultimate nature of all things? Can Jesus function to be my rope to enlightenment? Absolutely, just like Buddha can, just like Muhammad can, just like my lover can, just like my mum can, just like Geshe Michael, my teacher, can. Yeah, because you can make, if they're empty, and you know that that you can have a nominal experience of penness or chutoibleness or something else, then you yourself and every teacher or every enlightened word is also empty. It has no nature from its own sounds, and I can tell this because some of you are asleep, some of you are smiling. Yeah, I'm confused. No. So the nature isn't in the things, isn't in the teachers, isn't in the words. This is profound. But they function, which means if you want to write a letter, you better use a bloody pen. You can't say there's no pen. Okay, I'm not writing pens now, and here comes my letter. You have to use both the nominal reality that you're served, because you're served that. You planted the courses sometime before. Here they come spewing out of your hose, creating your world. You have to use what you got to create your universe.
Going back to your question, do you have to have correct view first to eliminate? That's what I was saying. Is I went from being Catholic, which I didn't have any view, or I guess wrong view, not knowing where things come from, and then disputing that and saying, no, I don't believe in any of it. I don't believe in God, whatever. And then I didn't believe in anything, and now I have this view. Things come from me. Now, to dispute that is what you're saying. Yeah.
But I guess
was
if
that
we've
your
had
question?
countless lifetimes, then of course we've had correct view.
You've had intellectual correct view.
But if we've had countless lifetimes,
Yeah.
then we've
You've had intellectual
more.
correct view. There's the spaghetti infinity of your mind. Yeah. There is only one moment in that entire infinity where you actually have direct experience of correct view, and that's seeing emptiness directly. All the other infinity of the cycle of living and dying and living and dying and boyfriend and no boyfriend and happiness and I'm a boy, I'm a girl, all this stuff. Yeah, you've had hints at it, and I want to say that this is why your mind is investigating this. You're getting closer to correct view. Yeah. I want to debate you on the Jesus thing, but I don't want to do it right now, but I'll quickly throw it out there. Saying no to the path of Christianity in that way would cut your root of virtue from being any Jesus-like person. So saying, I don't believe in that, cancelling it out, will cut the root of virtue of that path.
Right.
It must.
That's what I did. I mean.
Yeah, but you can reconnect it because there's a ton of virtue there. So what produced the virtue for you to see an even greater scope? Yeah, that's your intention. So let's get some class down. Yeah. So last week we talked about cutting the root of virtue. Then there were two ways to cut it. One was to decide definitely, I'm an intellectual, I'm a good thinking person, I'm of rational mind, I'm not drunk, I'm not on drugs, my mind is not on anything else, and I am, throwing pence, I am decidingly, cause and effect don't work, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, screw people, I'm going to hurt some, I'm going to like the others, I'm going to do whatever I want. And that won't have any effect. Yeah? Cool. Wrong view. That's one way, Abhidhammas. The other Abhidhammas, the other view explained, the Mahayana view, explaining how you cut that root of virtue. How do you cut the potentiality of having access and seeing yourself turn into an enlightened being? How do you do that through the Mahayana path? anger at, specifically at a bodhisattva. Yeah? So being extremely angry will cut your virtue, your root of virtue. Being extremely angry at a very high being will cut your root of virtue. And then there were ways of reconnecting it. Do you remember the ways of reconnecting it? How do you get access to that again? One was having doubt.
Doubting your doubt.
Doubting your doubt. So let's say I'm not sure about this law of karma. That's different to I decidedly agree that there is no cause and effect. Yeah, having doubt and logical questioning is a must. You can't not do it that way. So let's say you've decided, this didn't work, etc. Then you turn 45, 46, you start having things go wrong with you and you start thinking, well, maybe I was wrong about that because I've tried all the other things to get me happy. I tried the dancing, I tried the drugs, I tried the parachuting, I tried the sex, I tried all the things, and I'm still in the same condition. Not only that, my grandma went and my mum went and, I'm a little worse than I was before. Maybe that karma thing, the cause and effect, maybe there's something to virtue and goodness, and then having doubt about that will reconnect the battery to the cable, to the battery. And then there was another one, deciding. The other way was deciding, this is how it's going to work for me, this is what I'm going to practice, and I'm going to try this idea of cause and effect. That will reconnect you to that. So that was last week. Any questions on that? That was a good little discussion, by the way. Thank you.
I have a very specific question.
Okay.
Kind of a silly question.
I like this because it means I can usually answer them.
There are these monks that walk around the city and ask for alms.
Oh, good question.
What? Yes, so there are these monks that walk around the city and ask for alms, and then I think 2 weeks ago I was heading to go teach, and I saw the monk and I bowed to him, and he's like, Buddha, Buddha, and he starts handing me this notebook, telling me, to donate some money, and so I was like, of course, right? So I was gonna get out $3, and then I was like, oh, you know what, I'll give $10, and then he's like 20, right? And so I'm like, okay, so I gave him $20, right?
Oh, you should go to Nepal.
Yeah,
You'll break in 10 minutes.
So then I gave him $20, and it was weird because I've never had a monk push me, and I don't know, it was quite odd for me. So then I went home and I told Chris about it. I was like, this monk pushed me to give him more money, and he was like, no, authentic monks never push for more money. And then he was like, those guys are fake. I'm just waiting for the scam to be brought up on them. And so then we were out the following weekend and we saw another one of the monks, because he said that he's seen these guys and they have nicer shoes than him. And so then we saw another one, the monk, the following weekend, and I started following him. I was like, babe, let's go check it out. Let's investigate.
All eyewitnesses.
So we went up to him, and he hands out these cards, and apparently they're from the same tradition that his Shaolin temple is from. And so Amita Pho, Buddha be with you, is, Amita Pho, that's what it translates to. And all the monks of that tradition, they're handing out cards saying they're from this tradition, know that. And so we see him, and he's like, Buddha, Buddha. And Chris is like, Amita Pho, and he's like, Buddha, Buddha. He didn't even respond, Amita Pho,
he didn't even respond correctly.
He didn't even respond, just said, Buddha, Buddha.
Yeah.
Peace. And then he walked away, because he didn't even ask us for money, because Chris said that, he thought he was scared or whatever, that and I was like, oh, what monastery are you from? And he's just like, Buddha, Buddha. And so my question is, I was really upset that I felt I got duped by a monk, kind of angry that, that I was duped. But then it's how do we know? I mean, I don't know. How do we know?
Okay.
Really
No, I like it. Let's see.
You're right, he's not a monk. He's not a monk.
Well,
there's a lot in Nepal, too.
Yeah.
They wear the robes and bag and stuff.
Well, this is the thing, you did the right thing by investigating the second time around, by trying to see whether or not he was authentic. If karma is what you say, do, or think, if you're planted a karma in your storehouse of karmas, when you thought, and there are 65 every millisecond, planted and experienced. when you thought I should give him some money, when you saw the vision of a monk and you said I want to give him some money, would you say that was a positive karma, a virtue, or a non-virtue that you planted?
Positive virtue.
So in your mind, there's already a positive virtue, yeah? And then you probably saw a smile in him or something, which would be, let's call it an arising of a previous karma, yeah? It could or could not be connected. That could not be connected to you giving him money, yeah? Because sometimes you give money to someone and they frown, and sometimes they smile, yeah? So you've had an experience from a previous karma, but you also planted a karma. Then you have another experience of a previous karma. More money. Give me more money. And so you then have that experience results in some kind of doubt. Yeah? The experience that you're having is of doubt. Not so much of you still have the old inertia of the giving karma that you had a few seconds earlier. That's gone, finished. Now you've got the inertia of another karma going down. Things don't work out so good. Yeah? It's arriving. And then you take an action upon that. And your action was virtuous. You gave him $10. Or you want to give him 20. You gave him $20. It was an awesome virtue. So according to this, you had two karmas pop up, and in your experience of them, you still had actually, I don't know if you had ignorance or not at the time you were planting them. You still did two virtuous actions.
I was intending to contribute to a monastery.
Will that ripen?
Yeah, it must.
It must. Yeah.
But then I've been angry with him, so he's obviously not a true bodhisattva. Because that's the thing. Like, I'm like, what if he's really?
Wait, where does that come from? Where does he as not? So at the beginning he was.
I've duped someone in another life, because obviously not in this life.
Obviously not in this life. Yeah. So where does the experience of someone being not what you thought they were come from?
From me.
From you pretending to be something you're not to someone.
Right.
Yeah? And then recognizing that somehow in your mind. I mean, it could be that. I don't know exactly what it could be, but it sounds like that. But you also have to be aware that you planted a positive virtue at the beginning. You planted a positive virtue at the end. And I think the investigation of is it true or is it not true, unless you were angry about it, if the investigation was, how do I figure out if this guy's a true bodhisattva or not? That's a good karma as well, trying to investigate. And choosing not to give him money once you've decided he's not a bodhisattva, it's also a good thing. Yeah? But doubt is always there. Doubt is always there until you have that complete realization where you know is true. And this is called the path of seeing, when you see emptiness directly. So you can rejoice in your virtue. Let's cut to the chase. You did some good karmas. I don't know what state of mind you did it. If you are what you appear to be, which is like all of us, you probably did it with the ignorance that thinks, if I give this particular monk, he'll be happy, I'll get good karma. Yeah? There's an ignorance about that, insofar as that this object out here with monk robes has some self-existent nature of goodness. Yeah? Because we've learned that from monks. Yeah? In fact, your investigating mind must know that whatever he appears to you as comes from you. This would be to have correct view. So in the time that he appeared to you as a perfect, lovely monk, yeah, you must have had some kind of result of a previous good view. Yeah? If you planted the karma thinking, I do this, I'm going to get that, you still get the result, but you get it in a broken way. That's what it means to be in the wheel. You get it and it must have an end. Because you're not planting it with complete awareness that he is you. He comes from you. Every aspect of him comes from you, every aspect of you comes from you, and every aspect of the giving comes from you. This is called the three spheres. There's nothing outside of that. And if you put your mind in that, understanding emptiness, and understanding cause and effect in emptiness, which is towards the end of the Lamrim Chenmo, then you're planting a karma that goes into fusion, if you like. The state of Buddhahood is having this storehouse of karmas that will produce so much goodness that then they loop onto themselves, creating infinite. How do you call it? It's like, is it fusion or fusion? When what happens in a nuclear reactor?
Vision.
Vision, thank you.
Mm.
That your experience of being is not so cause and effect with intent. It's actually automatic and second nature. And there's enough goodness in your storehouse of karma to loop into an upward spiral of infinite good karma, which forces you to see yourself as an enlightened being and forces yourself to see yourself helping countless worlds, etc.
Is it bad karma if I have a strong desire to want like 20/20 or Dateline to do like a real investigative I want him to get busted. Is that bad?
Here it goes. This is
that's not nice.
No, this is a perfect example. How do you act? This is a perfect example. How do you act in this world with certainty and not producing harm? So here's a question I'll pose to you. What if this guy was a monk? What if he didn't understand English properly? What if, now I'm just saying, what if, yeah? What if he was so adamant that his teacher needed surgery or something special, or the monastery needed something, that he didn't care if he had to be on the street and say, just give me a 50, please. You don't know that. I don't know that. The flavor of doubt, and I would have the same doubt as you, by the way. I would go, scam, not giving you money, sorry, good luck. Yeah, that's what I would do. But then I would doubt myself, and I go, what if that was true? And then in the higher teachings, you would go, what is this creature forcing me to face? What is this creature appearing as a monk, trying to trick me? Because that's what your reality is. Yeah? What is this trying to teach me? And then there could be a Buddha. And then you give him 40. You know? But only if you hold that in your mind as you're planting the karma. This is what it means to take control of your own life. It's completely correct to say, sorry man, not giving you a cent, you're a scam. Sorry man, I'll give you 40, go help your Lama. Yeah? Both are correct. Who's correct, the dog or the humans? You must act with what you have, though. Ouch.
Can I ask a question?
You can, yeah.
So, were you saying about planting a karma for yourself, but he's obviously planting a karma for himself. So how does that interact? I'm sure.
No, perfect. Yeah. So if he was a Buddhist monk that genuinely had a sick teacher, let's say, and created this whole story now for him. Yeah. Poor guy. Let's all give him.
But his karma is maybe planting that karma.
No, his karma is his own experience of that same thing. He is seeing himself doing the highest virtue, getting himself to a begging stage for money, for a goodness. And that's a good thing. He's saying, please give me 20, please give me 20. He thinks she'll do a good thing if she gives him 20 instead of 10. So he could be planting a great karma. If his intent was to scam her, he's planting a really crappy karma. He's planting a worse karma than most thieves by pretending he is a monk and playing to people's emotional state. His consequence of that karma must be a horrible taking away of everything he has and people constantly scamming him. That's the result of that karma for him. The result of that interaction for her, she must have more abundance, to simplify. Do you see how they both work together?
I do, but I'm thinking that he may be ignorant of not knowing what a Buddha is, so he's only where he is.
So then he might only get a smaller effect of having the same thing. He knows that putting on these robes will get him more money if that's the kind of person he is. So he knows that putting on this costume will get more donations to his scam. If we're going into the...
And it's the same for us, we're only where we are. We don't...
Yeah. It's good, it's nice.
So that means that karmas don't, how do you say that, don't intertwine.
Oh,
every person is like a mirror or something. So it doesn't really matter, and as long as you're going along with this person, that means that you have somewhat similar karmas, and then, but each of us are playing different kind of games.
We have 7 billion worlds happening on this planet. Yeah, we have, I don't know, 35, 40 worlds happening right now. we are all understanding and integrating these ideas in our own specific ways. There is no single way. Yeah? But what we share in common is the humanness, the awareness of what we see here. And in that respect, we are like mirrors reflecting each other. It's funny, we did a talk recently at New Jersey. Where was it? New Jersey. We were at a yoga studio, and that morning I had a dream of Indra's net. Have you heard of Indra's net? Which is this net of diamonds where the net interacts with all these diamonds, and it's every diamond perfectly reflects every single other diamond on the net. And that's where this journey, where this complete thing. And in us is every single one of us. The monk, pretend monk or otherwise, observing his action towards her, was having his own experience of who she was and what she was doing to him, and vice versa. Yeah, it's only in your mind. You know, and that's what the Buddha meant by mind only. He said it's mostly in your mind, this experience. And it's so hidden because there's so many fine details to the interconnectedness of our lives. Like the magic of meeting each other to talk about these things. The magic of meeting your lover that turns on that thing. The magic of a word by a teacher in high school who stays with you for the entire... What are those? They're these karmas that are perfect.
Okay, sorry. Going back to this.
Going back before you got to eat and I've got to do class. Yeah. Go.
Shall I ask you on break? Ask you on break.
Can you just can you say what the three circles are?
The three spheres.
Yeah, would you repeat that?
The doer, the dude, and the doing. Yeah. the object, subject, and the interaction between the two. Sorry.
What is that? What are these?
That's called the three spheres, and it's a whole study and whole thing. Yeah. So, okay, there's no whiteboard, so I'm going to tell you about. We've been talking about deeds, what produces good things, what produces bad things, how they produce it, etc. Actually, you should have a 10-minute break because you look sleepy. I'll see you at 9:10, and then I'll tell you about the 5 worst deeds you could ever do in your entire life that completely cut your root of virtue. It's worse than cutting the root of virtue. And then how to fix it. No, you can't fix it. See you soon. See you in 10 minutes. 9:10. Thank you.